So today, there's nobody here yet. Give it a few minutes. Good morning, Pam. I think you're the first and only one here. Let's see, we're printing a flat pink color today. The base layer. This little Hasui Reproduction. I have 3 of the blocks carved already. We've got two kinds of paper we're working with today. And first we'll be using this thin, transparent, like mulberry paper. This is really nice paper. And it's not too expensive, but it really acts like, it resembles the washi, like 100% Kozo, for a fraction of the cost. And it really works well with this oil-based pigment. And when I press this through when I put this through the press, it really pushes the pigment into the fibers. So I'm working on the press for this one. So just give me 1 second. Pretty sure I have this at the right pressure. Got a little bit of a crease. That's just from me picking it up. Let's see. Yeah, that's nice. Too much pressure, maybe. And then we have our base tone for our print. So it's like Pepto-Bismol pink. But this is the base tone for the rest of the print. I think it's a good color. And we'll print one on the other paper next, which is just a cotton regular printmaking paper. I like to do both just to see which papers, I'm still always trying to experiment with different papers. So I had to add some white. I can't do it like Mokuhanga. I can't just add the pigment and then dilute it with more water and more paste to get that transparent watercolor pigment. I can't do that with these oil-based pigments. So I have to bring the value closer to where I want it. So I have to add white. And the white I'm using is semi-transparent or semi-opaque. It's titanium white. So it already is a little bit transparent. But then I did add some of the transparent base just to make it a little bit more transparent. So the secret here is to add just enough white that you can get a nice transparent color, the right value, and then add just enough transparent base to get the consistency and the transparency that you're desiring. So I'm getting to learn more about this process. And that's the goal behind making these reproductions in oil-based and linoleum. I'm trying to learn. Eventually I'd like to make some more prints. Here's a thicker cardstock or 100% cotton. It's much thicker And because it's thicker, when I put it through the press, there will automatically be more pressure because there's more material going through the press. So let's see what this looks like. Might be too much pressure. I'm gonna back it off a little bit for next one. I can feel like it's too much pressure. And that's nice. I like how a little bit of the paper is still showing through. Nice little texture there. You can see some of those scrape marks or brush marks that I put in the surface of the linoleum with some sandpaper. Give it a little bit of brush texture to it. That's a nice flat impression. Trying to make it look like wood grain is the goal. So I'm getting closer. So yeah, it's a perfect Pepto-Bismol pink. Bubblegum pink. I'll pull up the image that I'm working with today in a minute. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I didn't really test the microphone. This new microphone I got, it's not my favorite. I kind of like the other one I had before. It was louder. I have this up all the way, and it doesn't seem to be very loud. It works great if I'm talking directly into it like this, but if I'm away from it like this, just a few inches, I'm looking up, and it's maybe 5 inches from my mouth, it just seems so distant. So I almost need like a headpiece with like a microphone that comes right into my mouth, so it keeps it right here, so when I'm speaking it's nice and clear. All right, so back to our mulberry paper. And the only downside to this mulberry paper is shipping it. If I ship these prints to customers, so I can't just use photo corners on mat board. I usually, put my prints in photo corners on a piece of acid-free mat board. And I can't really do that with these because the photo corners, if this gets dropped in while being shipped, if the package is dropped, these photo corners will damage the edges of the paper. So I have to think of a better way to ship these. I'd have to put them in a folder of like acid-free paper and then secure that down. So it's just a whole different packaging system that I need to come up with for these thinner papers. Because I do like working on this and I want to work larger. So that's much less pressure on this one. I just moved the handles about I don't even know, it's like a third or not even a quarter of a turn. And it made a huge difference. But I think it's a better pressure. It doesn't need much. And this is much more delicate. And I'm looking at the edges of the paper to see if it's squishing down. So the last one I could show you, perfect example. You see that corner, how it kind of squished down the edge. You can see the line. Same over here. It's pushing down the paper, overlapping the edge of the linoleum. The linoleum is soft. So when that's happening, you have too much pressure. So back it off, and now I have a nice, clean corner, and that's perfect. So I'm just going to keep going with the mulberry for now, in case I have to change the pressure for the cotton paper. And I did find a bunch of different color schemes. They're not crazy different. They're just like slight variations. I'm sure they were printed at different times or from different blocks. But there's some warmer and there's some cooler versions of this print. And again, this was a postcard design printed near the 1930s. And I feel like, I don't know what it is about these little postcard prints that Hasui designed, but I feel like they're his best prints. His full scale prints are much more refined, much more thought out. And these small ones are just, they're almost like little thumbnail sketches for the bigger works or for the larger works. Just a simplified version. But they have so much more quality, like so much more character to them. And you can see his hand in the brushwork, and the carving is loose, and the printing is loose, and it just, there's something about him that makes him really magical. And I'm just attracted to them. I look at them all the time, almost every day. It's really something that I'd like to, wish I could do more on my own. And I have some goals for 2026, which is drawing every day is one of my goals. Even if it's just for half an hour, but I need to draw every single day. I don't care what it is. It's just random drawings in my sketchbook or a little still life or just anything. Yeah, they sent these as like, they used to tack them to like cards for like the holidays and stuff, I think, or for New Year's. But these were just like throwaway, you know, these little postcard designs were like throwaway. You know, it's just like a Hallmark card or a holiday card you get from a friend or family where you see their photos. It was just something, it wasn't considered fine art. Pam's asking if they were sent as postcards, not as like, not for travel. I mean, I don't think for traveling, but I think they used to more for how, like New Year cards. But these kind of questions are specific for Dave Bull. He knows more about this than I do. I don't know a lot about the history of Japanese woodblock prints, and I don't know too much about specifics with artists and time periods. I'm more interested in how they were made, and I'm trying to reproduce the look and the feel of them. That's really my goal. Yeah, they used to pump these things out though, fam. They'd print these things so fast. They would print like, you know, thousands of them from one block set. They would carve and print them within days, probably. Easy. I mean, I'm on the third block already. This was a pretty simple design, but I've traced and carved 3 blocks out of 5. So this one's finished here. I mean, that took just a couple, like maybe 2 hours to carve that. So you could be really quick with these designs. And this one, I just have to clear a little bit more. This is another block, just finishing that one last night. I just have to clear around the edges a little more. So I have 3 of 5 finished. And I did all that within like 3 or 4 days. But you know, they're working as teams. So they have carvers, they have printers, they have the master design from the artist, the designer. They could pump these things out quick. Which is one of the reasons why I think I like them so much, because you can see how they were rapidly produced. And in that, you see the process and you see the hand of the craftsman and the artist. You can see the design, you can see the drawing, you can see how they carved it, printed it. These were not precious individual works of art. They were just mass produced for consumers. So let's print one more and then we'll pull up the image. We can talk about it a little bit. So we have a few more people here. We're just doing a base tone for this print that I'm working on, this reproduction. Using a mulberry paper for now. Using the printing press. I can also show you the printing press. A little bit different setup than normal. Nice flat pink tone. So let's pull up the image real quick. I have my iPad. This is a Linocut Empire of Age 470. This is a Linocut, but I'm using a woodblock print as reference. Or I'm replicating a. So if you go to this website, miniaturejapanesewoodblocks.net, you can also just search Kawase Hasui miniature, and this will come up. Hit this website. It's Gallery 3E. This website is amazing. It has all, it has all these postcard designs on here. And the one we're working on is here. So you can see this pink base tone under this Mount Fuji. As the sun's going down, it seems like the sun is going down or it's either rising, and you're getting into this golden hour. But when you zoom in to the edge, you could see that base tone at the edge of the print. So the registration isn't very lined up on a lot of these prints. So if you go around the perimeter of the image, you can see the blue and pink are not quite lined up. You can see that the there's a lot of tamari or pigment buildup on the edge here. That's where that dark pink is. So they're brushing it on very quickly, printing it very quickly. And you can see the overlap of the gray block and the darker black block. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks there. You can see. If I pull this up, I trace this in Procreate. So I have all the different levels. So I have the key block, which is the darkest color. Currently I'm using oil-based ink. Just regular printmaking ink. It's relief ink. So this is the key block. You can see that color there. This is the gray, which covers the leaves and the trees. This is dark blue, which is interesting because you could see it in the leaves there. When I turn this color off, you can see how that blue is in the leaves, just right there. It adds like a shadow or some value change in the temperature of those leaves, which is like really interesting that he just left that little chunk there. You can barely tell, you know, from a distance. You can't really, I guess it's there, but you don't really notice it. And these are the reasons why I love copying these, because you don't see these things right away until you really dive deep and you get down into really start tracing around these blue shapes. You can see the overlapping of the colors here. They weren't too careful. They weren't trying to get this blue line exact. So my process here, Empire of Age, is I'm tracing this in Photoshop or Procreate, and I'm trying to figure out how many layers they were when this was made. So I've come up with 5 layers. So the base tone, which is the pink, there's 2 blues, a gray, and a black. That's all there is. 5 separate layers to create this image. And there's some gradations here. So this darker blue block, which is dark blue, this block, there's a gradation. It goes from dark, and as it goes down, it's lighter. Now, if I zoom out, you could see how it's darker up here, and then right about here, it stops. So it's really just this transition from here, and then it fades out. You can see that. And then there's this blue, a second blue, a lighter blue, which is the sky, but it's also the base tone in this mountain. So it's the lighter blue that's in the mountain. It's transparent here though, so you can see these shapes. And you think that where these little, yeah, the paper is white, and that is the 6th color, but this one there's not really, because the whole base of this print is pink. So every color that's printed on top of this is influenced by that pink base color. And that's the most interesting part of these designs. These are Shinhanga prints. So there's multiple color blocks stacked on top of each other. The colors influence each other because they're transparent, but also there's no gaps. So it's not like ukiyo-e where there was heavily key block that surrounded every image. So in ukiyo-e, there would be a black line on every single leaf. Every single shape would have a black line around it, and then it would get filled with a color. This is different. These are overlapping colors, and that builds out like more of like a painting, like an oil painting or watercolor painting. There is some key lines here at the tree where there's a big division between the foreground and the background. There are some key lines, as you can see here. But the reason why this works is because these colors are stacked over on top of each other, and it all starts from having a base tone. So there's no white gaps. You don't see any white gaps anywhere in the paper, because even if there was a little gap, it wouldn't be white, it would be pink. If that makes sense. So that's what I'm learning about this whole process. But these blues in here, it was really difficult to figure out the difference between this block, which is the dark blue, and this block. Let me just turn the transparency on this a little bit. Make it a little. So this block is the light blue block. And you see, let's look at these shapes, these like icicle peninsula looking shapes. They look like they'd be part of the darker blue block, this block. But they're not. They're actually the lighter blue that's printed underneath that makes it appear darker. And same as the... So this light blue block covers everything except for these shapes here in the mountain. And I don't see this. This is another interesting, very detailed. I don't know if you can see this or if it's actually true, but this is what I see. But if you look at these two trees, let's see, look at them here. Yeah, this is showing up well. This tree is much warmer than this tree. And why is that? It's subtle, but it adds just a little bit more depth. It makes this tree that's behind go further in space. And how is that? It's because this light blue block isn't in the tree. So the pink is showing through. So it's a gray on top of pink only, where this one has the pink, the blue, and the gray. So it's slightly darker in value and more cool. So these are the subtle, tiny little subtle things that you see and you discover when you trace and you carve and print these designs. I'm not just doing it to generate views or to make sales. I'm doing it to like get a better understanding of these artists, the time period, how they worked, how they designed. And I'm trying to now translate that with another medium, which is a whole other, skill set that I'm trying to learn. And there's many other things that are really interesting about this. But so let's go back. I'll show you. Let me just search this. It's Mount Fuji at Taganara Hasui print. I'm going to just search this on Google. I probably didn't spell it right, but let's see if we can find it. I think this is it. No, this is not right. Hold on, let me find the right Taganora. I did spell it right. Mount Fuji seen from Taganora. So I'm looking for Fuji Arts. So there's a lot of versions. This is it here. So here we go. So here you can see there's other versions. Yeah, I'm blown away too. On a daily basis, I'm absolutely blown away. This is a warmer version. But I believe there's different blocks here because these shapes, the shapes that are in here, these secondary, this isn't a good version. Let me just click on this. Those secondary shapes, you're barely visible in this one. This is better. They're different. They're slightly different than the other one. Also, there's some, the carving up here, I'm not sure what you call this kind of carving where it's really cut up and broken to make it look more rough. Yeah, there's no dark blue, so instead of the dark blue, it's this orange color, essentially. They're just trading out. But I believe it to be a different block set altogether. I feel like this one would come after this one. But this, you can see, this one, the pink isn't as strong in this version. Or maybe it's faded over time. This one's much more blue. The background is more of a base. It's more just the white of the paper, actually. There is no pink background. It's just the white of the sheet. So they just took out that base layer altogether. This one has that pink base tone, which I'm basing mine off of. Again, the pink. This one's a nice one. Less pink, but it's more purple. Like that blue and the pink are interacting a little bit more. And again, another blue or green one. But this is like this mist from the bottom up. This is going to be hard to do with my version. So I have to really pay attention to these gradations and try to figure out how to do that properly. So this is just one design that is super interesting out of all these. And each one is unique. I love this one with the boats. They're all great. This one I like too. I've been looking at this one. This has the same base tone. Yeah, I might do some other variations. That's why I'm carving the blocks individually. I'm not doing a reduction. This is the same pink, same base pink tone. The blue gradation. And then a second variety here. It's warm. Sorry, this is like not very clear, but then a warm. So the key block's the same. The gray blocks are the same. And there's some variation you'd have to go into. I think there's another block for the sail. I'm not sure, but I just love how they utilize the same blocks for multiple, early morning and evening, sunrise, sunset. But this is such a great resource to have. I love this one. This is what I look at in the morning when I'm drinking my coffee. You can see how the registration is so off up here. But you get to see the real color. It's like yellow on top of blue. Makes green. So hopefully you find that interesting. Let's go back to my stream here. We're printing today. That's what we're doing. But I just wanted to talk about that. I am going to include this into my YouTube video that I'll be making on this one. So, we got lots of comments. Let's get caught up on all that work. Pam says, yeah, there's a lot of work, but like I said, they were knocking these prints out really quick. Yes, this is a Linocut that I'm working on. I won't be probably making a woodblock print out of this. If I do, I would scale it down and make it smaller. It'd be like the postcard size. But I do have the design traced now in my Photoshop file, so I could. Am I frozen? Am I frozen? Am I frozen? It's frozen on my screen. Let me know if I'm frozen. I'm not frozen here, but I'm frozen on my screen. On my No, I'm good. Okay, cool. It works in YouTube. So I don't know why let's see. It's just frozen on my screen here. Oh, maybe if I hit play. Oh, okay. Okay, so we're good. So we'll keep printing here. I'm just getting caught up on these messages. Base color. Yeah, I'd like to try a couple different base colors on this one. I'll probably do a pink, and maybe I'll do like a cooler blue or green or gray like you mentioned. Seems like the printer had more control than the designers. Yeah, I think they just, I think they just roughly told the printers, like, I don't know how they did it. Probably just gave them a generic color scheme to work with and just kind of let the printer go with it. That's why there's so many variations. I think the publisher had more control over the color schemes and gave the approval. The publisher was the one that was probably making the color decisions because they're the ones that are selling prints. And so they would know if the warmer sunset versions were selling more. And this is just my guess. Again, those kind of questions should be asked to someone that knows what they're actually talking about, not me. So that would be something to ask like Dave Bull. But I'm pretty sure the publisher had a lot to say about the overall color schemes. And so did the designer. But they probably had to meet in the middle. Would that be considered a mistake? It's considered a mistake, but not for this kind of print, like the offset of the registration. They would carve and print these so fast because these little prints were just, they were similar to like a Hallmark card that you get in the mail from your grandmother. Like you might put it on your fridge for a week or two and then you just chuck them. That's what these prints were made for. They were just like throwaway. Which is crazy to believe, but that's just the way it was. And again, that's to my understanding. Don't quote me on any of this historical, because I am not. Would that be considered a mistake? Yeah. But yeah, like if it was super off, like crazy off, they might throw it out. But those little bits, like they're out there, so they didn't really care. Because they were just manufacturing these by hand so fast. But with all these small postcard designs, you can pretty much put in the same title, and he made a larger design with this very similar color scheme and composition. So they're almost like little sketches, little thumbnails. All right, let's print another one. Again, we have mulberry paper. First, we got to clean these edges. Got ink all over the place. So yeah, this ink I'm using, someone asked, is Cranfield Relief Inks. They come in a tube. You can squeeze them out like oil paints. Nice and easy to use, easy to store. But any printmaking ink, litho inks, relief inks, will work for this kind of work. And I could do an impression by hand with the Baron. See how that looks. This is a ball bearing Baron. I'm not sure how much pressure I need to apply, so we just pull up the corner and see what it looks like. See, this is just a nice, I could do it all by hand. This is just a nice impression. It's almost better than the printing press. See, nice flat tone. See the nice texture that's going on in there. So I think I have 12 mulberry sheets and I have 18 of the cotton. So we're doing about 30 of these. Now with these live streams, after they're over, when I complete this live stream, I used to just upload it and put it on YouTube right away. But I'm going to be waiting 24 or 48 hours to post them. Because there's something that's weird with YouTube. So as soon as it uploads, I might get 100 viewers, say, or 100 people will watch it within the next 24 hours. But then after 24 hours, that number resets. And it kind of starts back at 0. And I'm monetizing the replays, meaning there will be commercials played so I can get paid. I don't get paid very much, but I get paid a little bit. Every little bit counts. And then it resets. So I don't think I'm getting the full monetization for those 100 views. So I'm going to be waiting a day or two until I make them public after they're complete. So if you're looking for the replay and it's not there, you just have to wait a day or two. Plus, I think it might actually spark the algorithm a little bit better if I let it sit in YouTube unlisted for 48 hours and then I publish it. I think it might be better for the algorithm. So we're going to try that. See how that works. So if anyone knows why that happens, or if anyone's familiar with how YouTube works with these live streams, please share that with me. I would appreciate it. I have the printing press set up, so I'm just going to use it. Even though we're just printing a flat Pepto-Bismol color, pink, I'm still having fun. I enjoy doing this. There's just something about it that just never gets old. So I'm putting a certain amount of ink on the block, and then I'm just kind of rolling it and spreading it out evenly by kind of cross-hatching the rolling patterns, making sure I get those corners, the edges. I'm just going over it multiple times in different directions. So that's enough ink. It's just the amount of ink I need on the block. It's just a matter of spreading it out evenly. And I keep getting garbage on my block. looking good. And I have to keep cleaning these edges, especially the Kento areas. I can show you my printing press real quick, how that's set up. Let me take you over to the printing press real quick. So here is the press, and this is my inks and stuff underneath. Rollers, brayers, a bunch of linoleum. But up here, I have this so that the roller is always supported as it's going through. I have a piece of the linoleum that's here, so that this is always activated. And then when I put my, hold on here, when I put this through, it's already this is already activated on top of this runner, or this piece here. But the only difference is, as I put a piece of cardboard, it's a thin piece of cardboard over it, that's gonna just raise it up a little bit, put a little bit more pressure just on the block. So I can just push that through, gives a little bit more pressure. Whoops. And that's how I'm working with this over on this side. So you can see that. Now you know. Let's see if we can get this back the way it was. Perfect flat. It's really hard to get a flat, even distribution in Mokuhanga, especially at this scale. It would involve a lot of work and a lot of effort. But it's very easy to do it with oil pigment. So this is today's work. Probably be doing this for another hour or so. I'm gonna need to mix more ink. I can see myself running out very soon. Yeah, he did a great job making that. I don't know how the hell he did it, but he did it. It's amazing. He actually bought some like some blueprints from somebody online. Some guy had blueprints for like 3 or 4 different kinds of printing presses. So we bought them, you know, for like 20 bucks or something. But then he just looked at them as reference and he customized it and, you know, made some changes. And also the blueprints that he purchased online gave him some sources for parts and stuff. But yeah, he's a smart man. He's a good craftsman, so I think I can get some of that from him. Not the smart part, but the craftsman part. Nice. It's going well so far. I'm happy. This print's going to be really quick. Like I said, it's only 5 colors. So I'll probably be printing a color a day. What's today? Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It'll be probably this time next week when we finish, I'm guessing. And you know, I have a million other things that I probably should be doing. But I don't know, these things, doing these reproductions is just something that's important to me. It's part of my practice. I like doing them once in a while. Like 1 or 2 a year, I'd say. I don't know why, but I learn a lot from it and I really enjoy it. I'm getting faster at it as well, so it's just good practice. Someone was asking me on my YouTube, I was actually making the reproduction of the other Hasui like this, the vertical one, the Matsushima one. And they were interested in starting Linocut, but they wanted some pointers for beginners. They were asking how they could learn how to do it and be more efficient. So my reply was, just watch more of my videos. I pretty much put the whole process on here. I said specifically the live streams, because I pretty much cover it all. But I also recommended that they just do a simple, maybe just a black and white, just keeping it simple, just so they can learn about the materials and the carving, learning about the tools. You don't want to go too complex and waste so much time. You'd rather just, you're going to learn faster if you just do it over and over and over again, the whole process. So just keep it simple. Make a drawing with like a Sharpie marker. Try to carve it out as best as you can and print it. Or take a drawing from a sketchbook or something, try to trace it, and just print it. Or you can even just print something out from your computer, like a graphic art, you know, like a logo or something that you like. Maybe a logo of like your favorite sports team or something like that, and just carve it and print it and see how it goes. Because you don't want to spend tons of time trying to make a masterpiece, because you're going to make mistakes. So you'd rather just make the mistakes early on with something that's simple and something that's easy and something that's like something you don't really care about. At least for your first one. What paper am I using for this print? It looks like some variety of washi. It is mulberry paper. It's very strong. Doesn't have any size in it. It's a fraction of the cost, but it has the same feel and look as washi. The fibers aren't as strong as washi, but I think this stuff is like, it's like $7 a sheet compared to what washi's going for nowadays. I don't even know because I haven't bought it in forever. So I'm just like fully transitioning to Linocut these days. But you know, good washi's $20, $30 a sheet. And this mulberry is like $5 or $7 a sheet. But it handles the oil pigment very well. It pushes it into the fibers similar to Mokuhanga, similar to woodblock print. And that's why I'm using it. But I'm also using some traditional Western printmaking paper or cotton paper, just thicker. So I'm doing both. I have a piece of the, let me get the scrap of the washi here from, so a good way to test paper, when you have paper that you're using, it's good to have some scrap paper and you can test it. So it's always good to tear it to see what the fibers look like. So that's going against the grain and you can see the fibers. It's pretty strong, but they're not that long. And if we go this way, it should go with the grain. See how that tears much more easily. So the grain of the fibers, I don't know if, I'm pretty sure this is machine made, but it's really strong paper. But if you go across the grain, you're going to get a harder, more irregular tear. But you can see what's inside the paper. You can also test, sorry that's gross, but put a little moisture on the surface and you can see how long it takes for it to soak in. This actually seems like it has a little bit of natural size in it. I'm almost positive it's not sized, but there's some natural sizing in it, in the fibers, I believe, because it doesn't absorb it very rapidly. Like a piece of, if you put a drop of water on a piece of like toilet paper or tissue, it'll just soaks in right away. There's absolutely no sizing, no glue in it. But these natural fibers act as like a natural size. Yeah, I found a stack of sheets. I have so much paper laying around. I have it stored under my bed, up on my shelves, and I just trying to create projects so I can use some of it up because I'm trying to go through it. Just like have a paper hoarding problem. But I found a roll of paper. I said, "What is this paper?" And on the outside it says 50 sheets of mulberry. I don't even remember ordering it. So I have 50 sheets of mulberry. So it's like, wow, I gotta start using that up. So here we are. Used 3 sheets of it for this edition. I'm sorry, just 2 sheets, that's all. Or 3, I'm not sure, 2 or 3. But luckily I labeled the roll of paper so I knew what it was. And that's my, you've heard me say it before, some of you. My pro tip for the day, when you buy paper, as soon as you get it, label what it is and where you got it from and the date. you'll think you'll remember, but when you store it away and 10 years later you find it and you're like, what is this? You're never going to remember. So always label your paper. Because it's good to know. Yes, if you're a printmaker, you probably have a stack or rolls of paper stashed away somewhere. And I'm sure a lot of it you don't even know what it is because you didn't label it. But this piece of linoleum is another thing. This linoleum's the first linoleum I've ever bought. It's got to be almost 15 years old. 14 years old, 12 years old, something like that. It's at least 12 years old probably. And it was so yellow, I had to trim off the edges, but it's so yellow, so brittle, but it still works. So I'm trying to use it up so I don't waste it. So our stack of mulberry paper is finished. I'm going to use the cotton paper now, so you'll see a difference here. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I have 12 of the mulberry, and I think I have 18 of the cotton paper. So let's go. This is just a generic, it's like either Coventry or Arches 88. It's just a standard thick 100% cotton printing paper. I had trouble using this in the past with this very transparent ink, but I realized as long as I mix in some white and don't use as much transparent base, it works just as well as the mulberry or a washi. I've used nice washi for this similar process with the oil Linocut, but it's kind of a waste of quality fiber, I think, because the oil sits well on just the mulberry fibers or other fibers. So let's see what this looks like. Might have to change the pressure, but I don't think so. It's looking really nice. I like the texture that this is such a smooth surface, and the ink sits on top of this paper a little bit more than the mulberry. So you can really see the texture, the kind of the brush marks that I made, or I'm simulating with the scratches that I made with some sandpaper. So it almost has a woodblock texture feel to it. And that's what I'm going for. So this should dry overnight, and I will be printing tomorrow the next block, which is the light blue block, which I'll show you. I showed you earlier. It's already carved. That's this block. Minus the tree and the light masses of Mount Fuji. So we'll be printing that tomorrow. Probably same bat time, same bat channel. Around 11-ish, I'm not sure. Unless something comes up. I might be the last generation that actually remembers or even knows what that means. Same bat time, same bat channel. Because I used to replay those old Batmans. When I was a kid. I used to love those. What's nice about this heavier printing paper is that it goes into the Kento marks very easily. It lays down nice and flat. That's one positive. I think I need this much pressure. I'm going to just loosen the pressure a little on the press because it seems a little too much. That might be a little bit too much ink. It's getting a little too dense compared to this last one. See the difference. Look at that change. I prefer this little bit of light coming through. See that difference. So these are the little things that you notice and you pay attention to when you're printing. So a little bit less ink on this one. I'm trying to keep them consistent. It doesn't matter too much. do one more. We'll probably end this stream. There's about 8 people or 9 people on here. So thank you for joining me today. We'll see you maybe tomorrow, most likely tomorrow. I'll be printing a blue on top of this pink color. So that will be fun. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Also go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter. I only send out emails every once in a while. But it's just a good way to stay in contact with me for any news. See, this is nicer than the last one. A little bit of paper still showing through, a little bit of texture. Kind of like that. So thank you for everyone who's joining me today. Enjoy your Tuesday afternoon. And make sure you get outside and go for a walk today. Or do something like that. Bye for now.